Hey there guys, PC Guy here with the news in tech and gaming for the week. We are as usual going to go over the most interesting and most groundbreaking news pieces over in tech and gaming industries that we've had in the past week. And we'll have all the confirmed and official, let's call it, information now up front on the first few pieces, and any potential leaks or unconfirmed information that we might have are going to be left to the end of the video. Before I actually start into the news, once again, if you enjoy the videos and you'd like to see the channel grow and be able to do more and better content for you guys, hit the subscribe button. It doesn't hurt, and if you don't enjoy the channel, you can always unsubscribe later, but we really need that at this moment to keep growing and keep doing more and better for you guys. Won't keep you for the news any longer, and as you can expect, the release of the spec list for both the PS5 and the Xbox Series X, let's call it, even though they claim that's not the official name, have been launched online. Kind of no big event, no nothing, just a news piece as you can expect because of the whole health issues around the world situation. On a technical side-by-side comparison, we can start by saying that both of them are based on AMD products, both the CPU and the GPU that comes with it. There is a lot of custom hardware going into these parts, however they are quite similar in some aspects while retaining some key differences that kind of put them apart. Both of them have 8-core 16-thread CPUs, difference being that the Xbox One is clocked up to 3.8 gigahertz with, well, 3.66 when using SMT, which is AMD's version of hyper-threading that we are used to, while the PS5 one is clocked at a max of 3.5 with a variable frequency. The key difference is that the Xbox will have the fixed frequency, while PS5 has that variable frequency where it boosts or decreases or increases the core speeds depending on the load that the console is facing, so supposedly to help with temperatures. And both here and on the rest of the specs, we'll really have to see in practice how they work before passing a judgment, because this is all from a technical standpoint, and we don't know, like, for example, if they will in some way, shape or form thermal throttle or something of the like. So this is just a very technical spec release. On the GPU side, the Xbox seems to also take the cake with 52 CUs clocked at 1.825 GHz, while the PS5 has the 36 CU version, which is clocked quite a bit higher at 2.23, and this does take some interesting implications for the RDNA capabilities for the PC on the next generation, which these consoles are based on. So we could potentially expect some pretty juicy RDNA 2 cards when AMD finally does launch them. Both consoles are sporting 16GB of GDDR6, difference being that the PS5s are all clocked at a bandwidth of 448 Gbps, while the Xboxes has 10GB at 560, while the other 6GB is clocked at a lower 320 MB bus. So, sorry, 336, I was reading the long line. So there is kind of a split on the Xbox in terms of the memory speed, while the PS5 is a bit more uniform. Storage-wise, they both feature NVMe SSDs. The PS5 has an 825GB and the Xbox is a 1TB, so small difference, but the Xbox is slightly larger. However, there is something that we do need to take into account, is they both have expandable storage capabilities. And this is where I kind of applaud PS5, and it might actually make it a handier solution for most people, is that the PS5 just needs a compatible NVMe SSD. That means it has to be PCIe Gen 4, because these run on PCIe Gen 4 to achieve the speeds that I will talk about in a second. But the Xbox is a custom solution, so being a custom solution, they usually will be more expensive and you will only have a few options or even just one option to choose from. Here you could pick any PCIe Gen 4 SSD, as long as it's NVMe, that is, and you will be set. So it does allow for a bit of user choice, and also to be able to possibly get the deal on a cheap SSD and ram it on your PS5, and you'll be good to go. In terms of the I/O speed for the storage, the PS5 is blazing fast, a lot faster than the Xbox Series. so at 8 to 9 Gbps compressed and 5.5 raw, which is more than double of the Xbox Series X with 2.4 and 4.8, so the storage will be a lot faster in terms of throughput on the PS5. Other than that, some things are similar. They both allow for external storage. They both have Raytracing integrated from their RDNA parts from AMD. They both have ray-traced audio capabilities, so to speak, for a more accurate audio experience. So those things they both share and are frankly quite similar with them. It's hard to draw a comparison on what will be better performance-wise. The Xbox Series X seems to have the upper hand in terms of CPU and GPU by having more CUs in the CPU and the processor clocking higher. However, the PS5 might be better if there are temperature issues with its variable boost rate and its GPU is clocked higher, so they might be kind of neck to neck in those aspects. The storage on the PS5 seems to be a lot faster, with a lot higher throughput than the Xbox X. However, we'll have to really see how much of an impact that makes, because being an SSD, especially an M.2 SSD, the boot times and load times will already be blazing fast. So you are going from fast to faster, and the difference might be reasonably small. Things that were left out are quite important things, like the price, for example. This is all custom hardware. This is all reasonably high-end hardware, I might add, and there is no price information. Well, this is not really a channel focused on consoles. It does affect gaming, so I felt this was needed to cover these releases, and it does kind of give us a sneak peek in what we might expect from AMD and releases for their RDNA 2 generation that are supposedly coming out later this year. However, there might be delays, as there are delays with most releases that are coming out in the next few months because of the worldwide issues that we are all familiar with. But it does seem that the GPU side of RDNA 2 is doing pretty well. We have 52 CUs, so that's more than the 40 that RDNA 1 is limited to, so we can see that they can get their CU count up. And the clock speeds are a lot faster than we have seen on the first generation. So it's, yeah, can they have both a high CU part and a high clock speed part in the same, in combine the same product with both of those features? Remains to be seen, but the possibilities are there and we are seeing them here now. The Raytracing capabilities also seem to be very strong, so we'll have to see if AMD can combine all those good features into one package and launch it as a desktop GPU. An update to Passmark's single-thread performance chart has kind of had people scratching their heads, as AMD is basically decimated from the ranks and basically all Intel CPUs are claiming the top spots, while AMD is down in the dust. This has given people some second thoughts that they might be favoring Intel CPUs, because as you can see here, the list is pretty clear in what is performing better according to them. However, there is a catch that Passmark has pointed out, which is that this version features an AVX 512 test, which Intel CPUs have a massive advantage over AMD's. So this is probably the reason why they are testing so much higher, even when, for example, if you were to compare, let's say, a 9600K to for example, 3950X or 3700X, it would be way more of a battle than what we are seeing right here. So yeah, this is probably the reason why we are seeing these differences. Another week, another CPU vulnerability, this time as we are used to on Intel's side of things. Apparently they are vulnerable to a new type of attack called, they are calling it Snoop attack, and it involves things like caches and snooping around in the bus. Does the name of the type of attack. However, it's not as serious as you might expect, considering there was already a patch launched on August 2018 for foreshadowing vulnerability, which also fixes this attack. So while it is already fixed, well, there was a vulnerability there, and it's just another one to add to the list. GDC was supposed to happen this week, and while it was cancelled, AMD and well, other console manufacturers, for example, still showcase their products. In this case, the Raytracing capabilities of RDNA 2. And AMD put up this demo, which is called Futuristic City, where they kind of show off the capacities of their hardware. Now, this is recording, I believe. It's not a live render thing, but in any case, it does show us exactly how things we're going to be looking at. In terms of performance and frame rate, that will be left for us to see when there's actually some parts that are able to be reviewed. But in any case, it does seem that the ray tracing capabilities of RDNA 2 are fully functional, as you would expect, considering they'll be in the consoles up ahead. For those of us hoping for some hardware reveals or even launches at Computex 2020, guess we'll probably have to hold our breath for a little bit longer. The borders of Taiwan have been shut because of issues that you might imagine why, and that you can read here on the screen. But it means that Computex 2020 will probably not be happening, considering that would require a lot of people to travel there, and that sort of event is usually kind of frowned upon these days. It remains to be seen if the companies will still announce products online on their own websites or such, or video conference to simulate an event, or if they might just hold off on launching something because supply chain might also be disrupted in some ways in some places. So they might just delay any launches and announcements for the foreseeable future, which, if you are kind of hoping for some specific product or upgrade, is kind of disheartening. Although, let's face it, it's not the most worrying thing in the world right now, but for those of us that are kind of expecting something good to brighten their days, then yeah, I can see how that is a little bit of a downer. We've already had our weekly dose of Intel vulnerabilities. Now it's time for our weekly dose of Nvidia changing their minds about GTC 2020 news. So it started by being supposedly the actual GTC event. When that was scrapped, it was going to be an online GTC event. After that, it was a live stream, and after that they kind of decided to just post news articles on their website. And now they are basically just calling it Let's Wait, which is they are no longer scheduling to release news announcements on March 24 as they had announced last week. They will instead post news announcements on their page, but without an actual set date, so there might not even be any news to talk about around that time period. Those of us like myself that were hungry for Ampere news, or if it's even called Ampere, because that was not even confirmed officially so far, then yeah, it's another kick in the gut. I was kind of hoping for those video cards to be out still this year, still later in the year, but more and more it's starting to look like everything, and literally everything, is going to be delayed this year, which in one way is understandable. On the other side, like I said just now, kind of puts everything on hold around the tech world. Everything being on hold out there does have its plus sides for Nvidia. On the other hand, the GeForce Now Founders membership has sold out. They had a limited number of these because of the server capacity and the fact that the Founders membership allows people to get ahead into playing on the servers, and the fact that the service is quite popular despite losing a lot of well, big names in terms of a game library. They are very popular, and the fact that people are kind of stuck at home or spending more time at home these days means an influx of business for them. And they have just announced that they are sold out in the EU. Apparently in NA or North America they are also almost sold out, so they will be working on expanding capacity, but for the time being Founders membership are not available. You can still play on the free tier, however you might experience some wait times. Now that the actual news are out of the way, time to dive into the one leak slash rumor I have to talk about this week, which is an RTX 2060 that has appeared online that seems to be sporting 8 GB of memory instead of the usual 6 that are shipped with the card. It has been spotted on an EC listing, a number of SUSE models, specifically ROG Strix, 8GB Evo Gaming models. And this could mean a couple of things. It could mean that they are trying to clear out the stock of RTX 2060 in anticipation of Ampere launching sometime in the future, which, like I just talked about in the previous news article, might take longer than we are actually expecting. But it could be a preparation to clear out the stock for the new hardware to come in the coming months or in the coming year. So it could possibly be that by providing kind of a better deal on the 2060. Could also be trying to dissuade people from getting an RX 5600 XT or something, even though those cards have their own share of issues with the whole BIOS story. But anyway, it is not a confirmed thing. The cards are not out in the wild for sale either. It is just an EC listing, which might keyword, mean that there will be a product launching, but we'll have really to wait and see when it actually comes out. These have been the key news pieces for the week, so I hope you guys have stayed informed and enjoyed the news pieces. Remember to drop a comment below telling us what you are most excited for in the next few weeks or months to come. And yeah, drop a like, check out our other videos, and consider, like I said at the start, subscribing to the channel. You can always unsubscribe later if you don't like it, and it costs you nothing to do so, and it helps us tremendously in the long run to get those numbers up. So that would be vastly appreciated to let us do more and better for you guys. So hope I'll see you guys in the next video. In the meantime, as always, have fun.